All right, hello everyone. As you probably know, my name is Ty Hermann. I am a student of Miss DeLeon's Psychology 101 class, and we did a presentation on how psychology applies to the field that we want to go in when we get a little older, we grow up. And I did dermatology, and I bet most of you are probably wondering why a 17-year-old boy wants to be a skin doctor. That's pretty random, But I promise you, I have my reasons. So before we get into the meat of the presentation of why psychology applies to dermatology, I want to talk for a second about why I am passionate about dermatology. So just right here. Before that, I just want to get into, do a little bit of a definition of what dermatology is. So Oxford Languages describes dermatology as the branch of medicine concerned with the diagnosis and treatment of skin disorders. Like I said, you're basically a skin doctor, but dermatology is more than that. You're not just dealing with skin, you're also dealing with hair and nails, which I will get into more later because that's a significant part of why I want to be a dermatologist. And then the Greek word, the word dermatology derives from the Greek word derma, which means skin or hide. So, all right. Why am I passionate about dermatology? All right. So this is me in 6th grade. As you can see, I don't have any hair, I have, we'll get into it later, I'll explain it more, but I had a hair condition called alopecia that causes you to lose all your hair. And there's a little bit of a blurb here, but I don't need that. I can just explain it. I've had multiple different skin conditions. I was diagnosed with eczema from birth. Then at 11, I had vitiligo, which is a skin condition where you lose pigment in your skin. And then when I was 12, I got diagnosed with alopecia, as you see here. And then I don't have any hair, but obviously I have hair now. So, All right, so just for reference, I have 2 pictures. This is the first one. The second picture, these 2 were taken 3 months apart to really show the significance of how fast alopecia works and how what's the word, distinct the differences are. So there's the first one, and this is the second one. Reminded these are 3 months apart. So it's not like this is over the course of multiple years or it took this happened like that, basically over the summer. So as you can probably imagine, someone going into middle school with a completely new school and looking like that, it was pretty rough. And then these are some more pictures later on in life. I also lost my eyebrows, but so yeah. And then all right, so now I just want to go into a little more explanation of the different skin conditions I have and what they exactly mean. So the first one is eczema. It's also known as atopic dermatitis. So if you ever hear anybody say, oh, he has atopic dermatitis, that means someone has eczema. And then eczema is a medical condition that causes dry, inflamed spots across different areas of the body. And then it's also extremely similar to psoriasis. So if you see someone with different dry spots on their body, there's a chance it's not eczema, it might be psoriasis. And then 30% of children in the U.S. have eczema, and 10% of adults have it. It's usually more of a childhood-oriented disease. It's what happened to me. I don't have eczema anymore, but when I was little, it was awful. And then seasonal allergies is the largest cause of eczema. This is what happened to me. I had seasonal eczema. It would get really bad in the winter, and I'd have to take different ointments and things for it. And then eczema can be treated, but cannot be cured. It's really a case-to-case kind of thing. For me, I took injections, and it went away. I don't even have to take them anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. So, and the second one of these is vitiligo. So vitiligo is a long-lasting autoimmune condition that causes patches of void pigmentation. So I want to highlight this word right here, autoimmune. An autoimmune disorder is something where your body thinks that your cells are invasive. Your body thinks that they're not supposed to be there, so they will attack individual things that are. So it attacks your pigment cells, which causes you to lose color. As you can see in this picture, you've got more tan spots and you've got whiter spots. That's the places where the pigment was attacked by your own body, and nobody knows really why it happens, but it just happens. Between 0.5 and 1% of the population has vitiligo, and once again, the cause is unknown for the most part, but there has been some evidence that is linked to high levels of inflammation. And inflammation is honestly a real problem in our modern society because of the preservatives and additives that have been put in our food. That's a topic for another day though. And then once again, there is no known cure for vitiligo, but it can be treated. Like I have seen some results with treatment for vitiligo, but it's still a problem that I suffer with. All of you probably, I hope, know who Michael Jackson is. You will probably also know that he went from one color to another. Well, it's because he was diagnosed with vitiligo, and he decided, rather than sticking it out and like looking like this, he just bleached his skin. So that's an option for some people. I didn't think I wanted to go that drastically, but you know. And then finally, alopecia. This is the one that is this is what I'm most passionate about, because you know it's really crazy losing all the hair across your entire body, like for no reason. That's literally it's literally for no reason. That's the medical synopsis of it right now. Once again, this could change because, you know, when I was first diagnosed with alopecia, there was no known treatment, no known cure for it. You just kind of had to, you just kind of had to hope, you know. But there have been multiple different advancements in the technology. I actually am on a medication called Xeljanz, which is for arthritis, which is also an autoimmune condition. So it attacks that same strain. So, you know, I got my hair back. And then, all right, I'll go into a little bit more detail. Alopecia is another autoimmune condition that causes your immune system to attack your hair follicles, resulting in hair loss. 2% of the population suffers from alopecia. And then, similar to both eczema and vitiligo, the cause of alopecia is unknown. And right now, as of right now, it cannot be cured or treated. This is Jada Pinkett Smith. That is Will Smith's wife. You guys probably remember the Oscar incident where he slapped Chris Rock for calling his wife bald. Well, his wife is bald because of alopecia. So, you know, there's that. And then, all right, so now we're getting into the nitty gritty of more like dermatology as a career, you know. So here are the requirements to become a dermatologist. It is a lot of school, but I'm weird. I like school. So, you know, first you got to earn a bachelor's degree with pre-med courses, which is 4 years. Then you have to pass the MCAT and get into medical school. And the MCAT is basically just the test that decides whether or not you are able to get into medical school. And then you have to complete a dermatology residency after medical school, which is another 4 years. And then you have to obtain board certification by passing the dermatology board exam. And then after that, this is optional. But well, actually first you got to get licensed in your state. That's pretty important. And then after that, it's pretty optional, but you can consider specialization if you wanted to go into a certain field of dermatology, like if you wanted to be a pediatric dermatologist, or if you wanted to specialize in a certain skin condition, this is what you'd do. And then this process usually takes around 12 years, give or take. Could be more, could be less, depending on what programs you do and how you go about it. And then, all right, so now for the main purpose of the presentation, where does psychology fit in to all of this? Psychology and dermatology, actually I just learned this while doing this presentation. They intersect a lot more than you might think. Things like stress and anxiety and depression, they can all lead to, you know, they're inward conditions, but they can express themselves outwardly a lot of the times in the form of skin conditions. You know, OCD can lead to dermatitis due to the itching of skin. There's plenty of examples. In fact, there are so many examples of dermatology and psychology like coexisting with one another that they've created their own branch of like medical practice. It's called psychodermatology. So if any of you are interested in how psychology applies to dermatology and you want to go into a specific field for that reason, that is for you, psychodermatology. So, you know, all right. And then right here, I talk about how anxiety and stress can cause hair loss. I'm going to mainly focus on anxiety and stress because that is the main cause of many skin conditions. That's kind of it's not really the cause of mine, but it definitely made it worse. So then my first theory is the theory of stress as a response. So I bet a lot of you have probably been in a situation where you don't know what to do and you get overwhelmed in some kind of way. Maybe it's with school, maybe it's with work, maybe it's with just life in general. And this theory is basically just the obvious answer that a lot of times when people get in a situation that they don't think they can handle, stress is their natural response to that. And then, so stress as a response is a theory that was introduced by Hans Selye, I think that's how you pronounce it, in 1956. This theory describes stress as a psychological response pattern. Like I said, if you are dealing with something that you don't think you can handle, stress is usually the go-to response pattern for most people. And then it's displayed right here in this general adaptation syndrome model, also known as the GAS model. And this is according to the Introduction to Psychology First Canadian edition. This model describes stress as a dependent variable and includes these three concepts. One, stress is a defense mechanism. So, stress is kind of part of that, fight or flight response, when you get like so angry or so you can't handle it. Stress acts as a defense mechanism for that. And then stress follows these three stages of alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. And this, I underlined it because this is the most important thing. If the stress is prolonged or severe, it could result in diseases of adaptation or even death. The diseases are the most important part because most of the time these diseases end up being skin conditions. So, all right, theory number 2 is perceived control. This was developed by psychologist David Barlow. And then, all right, theory 2 and theory 3, which I'll get into in a second, are pretty similar, but they're basically saying that if you experience a traumatic event from a young age, you don't really have perception of how well what your involvement was in that situation. So a lot of times young children, even though that might not be the case, they blame themselves for a lot of things. This one's talking about just more people in general. And so it's just saying that if you went into a traumatic event, your perception of that event might be skewed, which can lead to, once again, a lot of stress and anxiety, and sometimes, I bet a lot of you have probably heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which once again can lead to many skin conditions. So then finally, theory 3, cognitive distortions. This was created by Aaron T. Beck in 1976, and this is an inaccurate or biased way of thinking that can lead to negative emotions and behaviors. And it reinforces unhelpful beliefs that you already have. So this theory really applies to people that already have pre-existing mental health conditions. So stress on top of their mental health conditions can cause a skewing of what they think. So then the side effects of this, which once again is the most important part, it increases stress and anxiety, it leads to poor decision making, and it causes or worsens conditions like depression, which can once again lead to different skin conditions. I didn't put it on here because it hasn't exactly been a proven correlation, but a lot of the times people say that depression can lead to, acne, So that's just one interesting thing. And I don't have it on this slide, but I want to take a second to talk about something that happened it wasn't in my life, but, it is impactful of how I was able to get here. So my dermatologist is over at Northeast Georgia Medical Center. Her name is Devin, and the reason she was able to find the medication that I'm on now is because she had a patient earlier. It was a girl, and when she was young, she experienced a car accident where she saw a biker get squished between the two cars, and that is what caused her to lose all of her hair. Once again, with the traumatic stress and all that, that is what was she didn't have any kind of, once that happened, she lost all her hair in a matter of months. And obviously it took a lot of, therapy and other things to get over that, but eventually because of the medication that I'm on now, she was able to get her hair back. And that's how my dermatologist was able to discover that medication. So that's just one example. There's obviously plenty of examples of this kind of thing. So then that's the meat of the presentation, and then all right, so these are just a few examples of skin conditions caused by stress. Obviously, as I mentioned before, acne, and also hair loss is alopecia. If you hear someone say they have alopecia, it might be the same kind of alopecia I did, which was, there's different types. I had alopecia universalis, which means that you'll lose hair across your entire body. But alopecia areata is just like the medical term for basically hair loss. Mr. Hardison. And then you got eczema, and then psoriasis, rosacea, and then scalp rash, and also hives. So those are just a few examples, and then that's basically it. These are my sources. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you learned something.